All right, the great Liz Peek writes for Fox News, get this, Joe Biden's misguided push for electric vehicles could destroy our auto industry. Woo. She joins us now to talk about that and much more. Liz Peek, syndicated columnist, Fox News contributor, and Joe Concha, media and politics columnist at The Messenger and Fox News contributor. We don't put your book up anymore.
Come on, man.
It was a good book.
You love the title.
I love the title.
It goes on for 20 minutes, so maybe they want to save time for it.
It's called Come On, Man, and it goes on from there, and it's an awful good book. And
thank you.
I want to keep pushing it out there. Now, Liz, what is the UAW going to do to our car business?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So Joe Biden is in a very difficult position here because the UAW is making demands that are basically unacceptable to the auto industry. 40% wage hikes. The auto industry has gotten about 20%, but they are very far apart. So they may strike tonight. But the problem I see, first of all, Joe Biden is pushing these car companies to make more and more cars that nobody wants. Electric vehicles still are not popular. Why? Because they're too expensive, average price $55,000, and all of the inconvenience about inadequate charging. All right, so we're going to be basically, with this UAW movement, we're going to raise the cost structure of U.S. auto companies at the same time that they're making more cars that are actually unprofitable. Meanwhile, in China, they now have the biggest EV producer in the world, a company called BYD, I believe it is, that is the #1 car producer making EVs. They are now flooding into Europe, and they will start bringing those cars here. Their cars are priced less than half of ours.
Do you own one?
Pardon?
Do you own one?
No, I don't own one.
Have you ever ridden in one? Are they any good?
Well, look, Teslas are great cars, right? I mean, Joe Biden actually hates Teslas because they're made with non-union labor. But I think really this is something people really have to be looking at because our auto industry is a very big part of GDP. It employs hundreds of thousands of workers. And I think this is really damaging our industry.
So, Joe, the way I look at it, politically, if there's a UAW strike tonight, looks like there will be. It looks like they're going to go after selected factories, from what I can gather, although I don't have everything up to date. You know what? That is not just a strike against the big three car companies. It's a strike against Joe Biden and his climate policy and the EVs that Liz is discussing. That's the way I see it. It's a poke in the eye and a strike against Joe Biden's crazy climate policies.
That's the thing, and you brought it up before, Liz, but I always ask this question over and over again. In a common sense, logic-based society, how do you charge? There are 280 million car owners in this country.
Is that right?
Yes.
Right.
So in urban environments, for example, and if I live in an apartment complex, how am I charging my car exactly in New York or San Francisco? No one can answer that question. So everything is symbolism and let's go to electric cars by 2030, 2035, but no one has the ability to charge these things, particularly in closed environments. So that's one thing right there. But you're right about Joe Biden from a political perspective, because you think about what elections come down to, the states they come down to, mainly the Midwest, right? And particularly Michigan. Trump won it in 2016. Biden won it in 2020. Very narrow margins. And if this strike ends up going on for a while, he could alienate the type of workers that he needs to go over the top in places like Michigan and Ohio. But the UAW, Larry, and I'll leave it here, these are insane demands that they're making. They want a 46% pay hike, and they want their work week to be reduced at the same time to 32 hours? Nobody can agree to this. And if it does, you're paying ransom.
And a defined benefit program, which is ridiculous.
I mean, they want to protect their workforce with outrageous demands. But they know, Liz, this Fain guy is the head of it, okay? He's a tough guy. He's a militant guy. I get all that. If Joe Biden gets his way, and there are no gas-powered cars in the next 10 years, it will obliterate the United Auto Workers.
For sure.
Kevin Hassett was on the show last week, smart fellow, obviously, cost 400,000 to 500,000 jobs. 400,000 to 500,000 jobs because EVs only require roughly 40% of the work hours that a gas-powered car.
Right.
So on the one hand, you can't blame the UAW for everything here because they're looking at the future. Joe Biden's climate future, EV future, is devastating to them.
To be clear, you're going to have a net loss of jobs because of the switch to EVs. There will be increased jobs in things like making batteries, Larry. The problem is they're going to be making those batteries in states which don't require unionization.
Oh, I thought you were going to say China.
So, no, well, I mean, everyone's worried about all the raw materials and batteries coming in from China. They should be more worried now about the cars coming in from China, but that's a different topic. The reality is all the people creating the joint ventures and so forth to make batteries are moving into states where they don't need to hire union labor. That's really, and the UAW, I agree with you. They are angry. They've been angry since Joe Biden pushed up the deadline for getting rid of internal combustion engines, and they are rightly angry because it's really undermining the future of their union. I mean, I don't care about the future of the union. I think we need a competitive auto industry. Any way you look at it.
I'm a right-to-work guy.
Yeah, me too. So I don't care about that.
Joe Biden's Bidenomics was supposed to be the most pro-union. What happened, Joe?
Well, obviously that's not happening because you brought it up before, $55,000, Liz, the average cost for an electric vehicle. Meanwhile, you see the numbers around how 2/3 of American families can't afford an emergency of $500 or more.
Right.
So where's $55,000 coming from to buy a car that no one can afford in the voting blocks that Biden needs most, particularly in the Midwest?
That's a key point. You two are terrific. Liz Peek, Joe Concha, and the UAW. We'll have the UAW next.